Welcome to Real Estate with Ryan. So excited to be with you on a Saturday, talking a little real estate. Hope you guys are doing well, having a great weekend, and thank you for tuning in. So hope everybody's busy. You know, it's spring. Hard to believe May's right around the corner. Days we're going into May. So for the real estate market, May is an awesome time because it's where our waterfront properties hit the market. Um, a lot of our areas across the area, some of the that are seasonal water, they start coming up. And it's really the best time for our lakefront properties where people are looking for waterfront properties, May all the way to probably, I say, September, but at least in August. So we're going to start picking that up very soon. So if you're thinking about possibly selling your waterfront property, now is the time. Now's the time. So much going on in the real estate market. We've got a really good show for you. I hope everybody is staying busy this weekend. And I thought this would be an appropriate show. We do so much about the spring market, this going on, that going on. But a cool trend that's been going on for years or for a long time is a tiny house. You guys have kind of known about that for a while. Probably seen them a lot in Sevierville. They're very popular. We've got some communities up there. So today's show, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of a tiny house. Is it a good investment for you? And we're going to talk about all the pros and the cons and kind of what we're seeing in the real estate market here in East Tennessee with the tiny home community. We've got a good investor, a good friend of ours that is working on a tiny home community as we speak. And that's been a goal and a passion for him. And so what's your thoughts on a tiny home? Ever thought about downsizing? Obviously, with the market going on, inflation, everything's being expensive. A lot of people are downsizing. And they say, well, we'll get rid of some stuff. My garage is overflowing. Let's get a tiny house, make it easy, travel, honey, and kind of live out there in the wilderness. Or just, the cool thing is you can pick it up and move wherever. So that's what we're going to talk about today, Real Estate with Ryan. We've got some congrats, as you know, before we start, some new listings. And so we want to get right to that before we start our show. All right, new listings on the market. 1511 Joyner Hollow Road, lot out in Rockwood, sold and listed like within days. Super excited for them. 169 Upton Road, Sweetwater, new listing. Make sure you check that out on our website. 10876 Highway 131 in Washburn. Not only did we list it, time the show airs, it's sold. So that went under contract. Congrats. 220 Fox Hollow Road, new listing. Great opportunity to have two individual lots out in Townsend. They're about 3.8 some and some change a piece. And so either sell it together at $300,000 or $150,000 a lot. So make sure you check that out. 132 Hanani Trail out in Kahiti. Great building, a lot in that beautiful community. Let's see, 512 Domer Court in Townsend went under contract real quickly. Congrats. Jones Cove Road, Sevierville. Congrats. And then, of course, we talked about Highway 131, how that sold pretty quickly. And then sold Riga 611, very popular. One of the last few units that was a resale over in Rigas, sold with a lot of activity and multiple offers. So congrats to the seller and the buyer. So that's what we have going on. If you're tuning in for the first time and say, hey, who's that guy on the radio? I hear him all the time. Well, my name's Ryan Coleman. Of course, my lovely wife that's not here, April Coleman. We do this show called Real Estate with Ryan every weekend where we just love East Tennessee and East Tennessee's real estate. And we just try to give you the up-to-date information on what's going on in the market. And as you know, in the news media, in the real estate industry as a whole, there's a lot going on. And so we want to keep our East Tennesseans up to date with what's going on. And whether it's interest rates, as we talked last week, that the government has new banking regulation. So there's so much stuff going on. We want one source that you guys can choose from. We're on News Talk every Saturday at 98.7 at 1 p.m. All right. And then Talk Radio 92.3 FM at 11. Both can be on their apps at your convenience. But if you happen to not go there, no worry. We've got you covered. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and we're streaming live there. So we have the reruns in case you miss it. Of course, you can go to all of our apps, Spotify, iTunes, Google, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of promotion there, guys. There's a lot of work to do this thing, this show every week, but we really love it. I love real estate, and I hope it shows on the show. And again, this is going to be a great show because we have a lot of clients that talk about tiny houses, but we're going to kind of dive deep into the tiny house and does it make sense? So, a lot of tiny houses that you'll see in our Knoxville DMA or East Tennessee will be you'll see up in Sevierville or certain parts of the area, and they're very popular. Obviously, there's a reason in Sevierville they're popular. Some are owner occupied in Sevierville, but a lot of them are in the Airbnb short term rental. So, one of the biggest things before we get going into whether a tiny home is a good investment for you or not is think about, is it owner occupant or is it investment? And we were listening to some guys that own a tiny home before we started the show. He said regulation is probably one of the biggest things that you're going to see. Regulation right now, this is kind of tiny homes is new within the last, I'd say what, 5, 10 years, at least, right? But I think it's really taken off in the last 5 years. Um, Part being that housing has gotten so expensive. Rentals are expensive. So, tiny homes are where you can downsize from that home and they're more cost affordable, efficient too, but, one of the things I didn't realize, and we were kind of doing our research for the show, is that some tiny homes are costing as much as $300 a foot. Well, that's expensive. That doesn't sound inexpensive, Ryan. So there's a lot of factors that go in. First thing I want to talk about is make sure we check our regulations, our cities, our counties, wherever you're going to put this tiny home, make sure the regulations will allow. Um, One gentleman that was putting a tiny home took him a year to get through regulations, zoning. They had to put up signs, ordinances. People had to vote on it, and so there's a process that goes involved before doing your due diligence to do a tiny home. So make sure you do your homework there in advance. Um, we can talk about some costs, but let's just talk about why tiny houses are very, very popular. I mean, living small, you can be comfortable. Tiny homes are built with air condition, washer, dryer, stove tops, and even a small bathtub. Many tiny homes resemble large homes with modern and luxurious conveniences such as heated tiles, towel warmers, can even be a quiet masterpiece. Some of the things that have more of a craftsman look on these tiny homes, and the cost is obviously a lot less. But when I first started this segment, it was like, hey, it's $300 a foot. Doesn't really sound less, Ryan. So I'm with you. I'm with you. So they average, and we'll kind of get into the cost why they're expensive in certain markets. So an average tiny home can be between 10,000 and 180,000, depending on, your features, upgrades, and things like that. However, the average tiny home on homeowners' budgets can be around 30 to 75,000. Just depends on what you put into it. The benefits of having a paid off regular home, but fewer expensive utility bills, things like that are more affordable. It's basically less expensive to build a tiny home than purchase a prefab one. And then I didn't know this. I know I've seen some in Home Depot, but stores like Amazon, Costco have kind of jumped on the tiny home movement, and they're selling these, and they'll ship them actually to your house or your location or your lot that you're going to build on. So that's pretty cool. A lot of tiny homes obviously feel like campers. They're small, but if you ever been in one, they're actually pretty cool. And some of the features that you can put in there, it's pretty neat what they're doing. Um, Try to think on some of the tiny homes. You've seen a lot of them. I wish I could. We're on the radio. I like to show you some pictures and just some different ideas. We'll post this on our blog. So if you guys have chance after the show or maybe later during the week, go visit ryancoleman.org. We'll put up some pictures of some of the nice tiny homes that are out in the community and some of the newer ones that are building that are really luxurious and that you wouldn't even think that would be a tiny home. So check that out on our blog. We'll put those pictures up. But when you move into a tiny home, you're going to get rid of some of the couches, treadmills, your big heavy weights and all that stuff. You're going to minimize everything what you're going to be doing here. You're going to need a lot less furniture. It's going to be it's going to be different type of living, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. It's been shown on average that people need to downsize into a tiny home have consumed. Listen to this. Have consumed 54% less than the average American, which makes sense that they have tiny cabinets, tiny storage compartments, there's no room for your stuff, Ryan. You can't bring all your junk. You laugh, and I said, my daughter, I don't know if she's a little mini hoarder. It's like every little thing that she has, little piece of paper or a toy, you name it, she's bringing it. And then you wonder why the garage is full. It's like, okay, we're not going to be the hoarder family at the Coleman. So, but living like this requires that you can't bring all that. So we got so much more talking about tiny houses. Stay with us on Real Estate with Ryan.
Knoxville and East Tennessee. The region is known for its rolling hills, rivers, and lakes. There's no better place to work, live, or raise a family. Home is where your story begins. Buying or selling your home is a big decision, and you need a real estate team you can trust.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty, your hometown experts. Whether you're buying or selling a home, let us develop a winning game plan for you.
Hometown Realty is East Tennessee's #1 real estate group and a proud sponsor of the Vols.
I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty. The real estate market's changing every day. You need to know your home's value in today's market. Text your home address to 290-2290 for an instant, no obligation home evaluation. That's 865-290-2290. And remember, when you're ready to sell, we have a guaranteed sale program to get you in your next home stress-free. Trust your hometown experts. We've helped thousands of people just like you.
All right, we're back at it, Real Estate with Ryan. Second half, we're talking about tiny homes, pros and cons of owning a tiny home, whether it's for your residence or investment. Is it a good idea? We're talking about all that Real Estate with Ryan. You guys, I know you're busy, but the spring market is here. We've been talking about it for a while, and I can't get off the radio. I said, my team said, listen, market's changing. You got to give them the text number. You've got to do it, Ryan, because the market is changing. I need to know my home's value. We reinforce this every week, and you guys really need to take advantage of it. Whether you're looking for land, whether you're looking for something for your tiny house, you thinking about that? We can run numbers for you there. Or as I told you in the opening segment, it's waterfront property. That's what we're looking for. I need to know what my waterfront property is worth if I'm thinking about selling it this year. They're talking about capital gains, possibly raising capital gains. If it's over 500,000 gain, it may be an opportunity to have that conversation now versus next year. Easy number. We got a service that's free of charge. 7 days a week, you're going to get our team. We're going to give you real numbers, real data, no obligation, give you an idea of what your home is worth, land or property. Also includes investment properties. We got you covered. So if you got a pen, write this down. No worries. 865-290-2290. So all you got to do is text this number, 865-290-2290. You text us over the weekend or next week, whenever you have time, we'll get back to you promptly, give you real numbers, real value. And if you need more information, we'll be glad to come out and talk to you in person. So home values are more important now as we're approaching almost the half point of the year. Knowing your home's value is the number one thing you need to do to kind of start that conversation if you're thinking about possibly putting your home on the market. And we'd love to help you, as you know. So I'll roll that into 60-second update with our Vols. A lot going on this week. Big weekend. All right, drum roll, please. All right, we got the baseball team playing Mississippi State. We got a Saturday game, 29th at 2 p.m. Make sure you check them out. Games are at home. Of course, the NFL draft is big. It's the other day and today. Big news for Hendon. Rooting him on in all the Vols. We got 5 players taking the first 100 picks of the 2023 draft. Rooting all for our Vol Nation. And what else do we have in Tennessee land? A lot going on. Just keep track of that. Stay with the baseball team. Big win last week over Vanderbilt. Big, moving up in the rankings. I think we saw we're number 24. And I think we're going to finish strong. So follow all of our Vols this weekend. All right, that is our 60-second Vol update. Hometown Realty, proud sponsor of the Vols. I got a lot of work to do. I told you guys I'm working this segment. I'm working it. I got a lot of news, a lot of information, a lot going on. We're talking about the tiny homes, and there's so much to cover in this segment, and hope to try to get it all in. But as we're talking about the first segment, and if you're tuning in, catch us on the second half, zoning is going to be your number one play when you're finding a tiny home, or if you're thinking about a possibility of that. And You just want to check those laws, whether it's residential or commercial. Makes a big deal. Um, and rezoning could take up to a year. First segment, obviously we know it's cheaper. We talked about it could be 30,000 to 75,000, but on some cases could be as much as $300 a foot. And a lot of that comes into your cost of land just because the cost of land has really just got exorbitant. I mean, it's just the prices of everything is so expensive. That's why a tiny home, right? Because everything's so expensive, I can be creative. I can do a lot of different things, keep my budgets down. I can declutter. But here's some of the costs that this gentleman that built $300 a foot wanted to kind of pass on to you guys. So you have your tiny home, and then that's not just it. So maybe you're going to do a foundation. Foundation could cost you about $6,000. Also, you're going to have to make it look pretty. We always talk about it on the radio. Do a little curb appeal. With that curb appeal, there goes 15 grand. Patio, don't forget that. That could be another 4 or 5 grand. Maybe fire pit, that'd be nice. Utilities and more. And so you want to check those out. Now, this was a gentleman that built a tiny home out in California area, Arizona. And that zone, and they were in the mountainous area, similar to East Tennessee over here in the Smokies. And one of the things he ran across, which I thought was very helpful, and I wanted to pass on to you guys, is the utilities. And one of the things he wished he would have done sooner would have been to research and get bids prior. So it cost him $150,000 in just the utilities. So you can see planning could really cost you a lot of money, where on the surface, tiny home really looks like a great idea, but when you put in the utilities, he wanted, the power and everything underground, cost him $150,000. So keep that in mind. Don't forget this. I think this is probably the number one thing. It's like, I got to have water, I've got to have sewer, got to have septic or something like that, Ryan. But then what's right behind it? And I think you guys know, but we don't really think about it. If you're living out, in the mountainous area or the rural area, what's number one thing, guys? You know it. Our kids are hooked up to it all the time. They're watching stuff. What? It's Wi-Fi, internet. Well, guess what? A lot of these areas, you will have satellite internet or things like that, that it's really kind of lower speed, and really not what you're wanting to get. So make sure if you're going to have internet that you do your research. You may have to pull a line, and that could be, $5,000 to $10,000. So make sure we check that out. And then, with that, all that being said, the positive on that is, look at our markets. We're one of the best markets in the country in the Smoky Mountains as far as investment income. Some of the best short-term rentals, cabins, things like that in Sevierville and Gatlinburg are outrageous. We're easily $500 or $600 a foot. So the pros, of having a tiny home is some of the regulations in Sevier County are a lot more lenient than in other parts of the country. And kind of some advice there would be, first start with your first tiny home. Start small. And then if you're thinking about investment and doing more, well, then you could go to multiple, but start with one first. Do some pre-work. And there's so much to learn from a tiny house and a build. And there's a lot of stuff that we'll link on our blog. I think that will be very, very helpful. We've got tips, different guidance, different things that we kind of come up with this show for you that we can kind of compile, put it in our blog for you, so you can have some reference there. I think that would be very, very, very helpful. Nick and I were chatting between the break and talking about, we looked at something similar to tiny homes, are those container homes. I know you've seen them. We've seen some of those in the Sevierville market as well. Just a different cost. We looked into it, just the time that we had to take. We just didn't have the time, but some really cool ideas. And if you've taken a little time, if you're on Instagram or Pinterest or some of those sites like that, you probably have seen those. And they make it really, really cool to have an idea there. Storytime was like, how they're getting, that storage container there. And I mean, it's kind of cool to watch it. I just said, well, my luck, I couldn't get it there, or it sits there. And then, weeds start going up around it because I'm busy with you guys selling houses and on the radio. And so I just knew it wasn't for me, but a lot of people are taking advantage of it. And a lot of creative ideas in today's economy, I think, are super awesome. Nick and I were chatting. We said, listen, over there near Dollywood, a guy's he turned a train caboose into a tiny home. So you may have already seen that. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, you know, uh, locations, everything's real estate. It just depends on where you put it. Unfortunately, tiny house prices do depreciate a little bit. Unfortunately, of course, when you move them, or you may lose a little money overall. Um, Unless the home is unique, incredibly well maintained, it is true. And then the local governments, unfortunately, keep adding, new regulations and things like that that makes it difficult. Um, I think one of the biggest things with tiny homes, and kind of leave you with that, is you know there's a lot of opportunity where you can travel, do things, and especially in the rental market in Sevierville and some of our areas. If you look at the numbers, and there is a lot of land that we have out there, there's great opportunities that you can maybe turn into some great rentals. And we know that they're renting very great, very rapidly. Actually, some of the rentals that we looked at on VRBO, a lot of them are taking advantage of that. So that market's out there as an investor as well. I don't have a positive or a negative of which way to go. I think you go with your gut, feel good about it. I just wanted to give you some of the information. I think with anything, planning is where you start. Do your homework, do your zoning, get some bids before you start. But I think it's a super idea, and we have a lot of clients that are helping kind of go that direction. So tiny homes segment, real estate with Ryan. There you go. That's a wrap. Hope you've enjoyed that. And I hope you guys have enjoyed being with us every Saturday. We love being with you. Special time that we get to set aside and talk to you guys. I know you're busy with your schedules or listening into the radio. We appreciate you. Best number in real estate, it's 693 sold, or you can visit me on my website at ryancoleman.org. You have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you next week.